Let me show you what's going on in here. Yes, I'm smoking salmon. So today in this video, I'll take you through the process of what salmon I buy, my initial steps, curing and how to make the cure. Curing, I think, is the most essential step because without curing salmon, if you put it straight to smoke, it's going to poison you because it's a great recipe for botulism if you don't cure your meat. It's forming something called a pellicle, the surface of the skin, making it more receptive to smoke particles, and then we'll get on to smoking. Your local German supermarket usually does nice half sides of salmon for under £8 normally. We have these two half sides of salmon. The deluxe is new actually, but the difference is about 50p, so let's go for it. I normally don't go for really good wild salmon because in my experience the farm is a bit fattier and that seems to work better with the smoking and curing. Now curing is removing moisture from the salmon, but I feel that you might waste the cure a bit if you just immediately stick it on because it's quite sweaty, it's quite wet. So I want to actually dry it off a bit. Now normally I have a little bin rather than the big kitchen bin because we can chuck all the salmony stuff straight into the bins outside at the end of the evening. So there's a few steps. Right, for my first trick, I've got 2 pieces of kitchen paper. We put them in here. Then let's see if these deluxe salmon half sides are easier to open than the cheaper. This is okay. Take it out. Place it on the paper. I'll fold that over. And you can see already, less on the bottom, but mostly on the top, you can see that the absorbance is coming through. One very handy thing about Waitrose is they do a free actual print newsletter, and I paper at the weekend, and I do use it a lot. DIY all sorts. Well, it's a bit of a godsend. I know when we're trying to get away from consumables, this is one thing that I do like, and that will help absorb that liquid. So that goes into the bin we prepared, because this paper will go in later as well. "750th issue," it says there. This time I actually split the 2 bits in 2, and then a bit more on top to help absorb. Right. And this goes into the fridge for a couple of hours just to start the drying process. Now time for the cure, not the band. I have a kilo of sugar. I actually had a job lot I could buy of Muscovado sugar recently. Otherwise, I would get dark sugar from a German supermarket, just their standard stuff. 1 kilo. 1 kilo of salt. Again, I don't even put on the table what's called table salt. I prefer rock or sea salt because this has impurities like pouring agents, to keep it smooth. But for this, it's fine. And in fact, some books I've read even suggest getting salt for putting on the roads for curing. I will draw the line there. And you want some aromatics to go in with that cure, I think. And I think the darker sugar also gives a nicer colour and finish to the fish. 40 grams of black peppercorns, about 25 juniper berries, and about a tablespoon of fennel seed. So first of all, I'm going to take a spice grinder, or coffee grinder. This is what I keep especially for the purpose of spices, in with our juniper and black pepper. Pop it in and give it a whiz and find the button. This feels like it's, I'm hoping that you can see the consistency of it there. And I'm just going to put in fennel seeds. And just a quick, just to break them through a bit. So you can probably see they're broken up, but still not completely powdered. Oh, it's a lovely smell, but I think I might be sneezing in a minute. Now, it's really simple matter. Bring it all together. Let's use the scissors. The thing is, normally you have the little thing to open just to pour it, but we just want to take the whole lot, plug it in. Voila. And again, let's see if making a complete dog's breakfast of opening it up. Let's see if it, there we go. Still less practical, but prettier. And into the recycling. And finally, the aromatic. So it doesn't have to be in that order. And personally, and you have to excuse a messy corner of the kitchen, I have a favoured way of mixing that, but you can always do it with a spoon. Right, this has been in the fridge for a couple of hours, and this paper's not too damp. You can see that there is certainly a lot. It's a lot drier. Look, this moisture is coming off, or has soaked up. So just and below. These are originally 500 grams each, but perhaps for accuracy I should have weighed them to get the exact measurement. In fact, we could do it now. Shall we do that? Because we haven't cured it, we've just been drying it a bit. So what I'll do, put this on here and just see how near to the weight is, because this could be interesting. So this one, 496 grams, 4 grams short of 500. This one, 482. Makes you wonder. But so they have dried slightly, but still, I wouldn't, they are a little bit short. Now, all this cure we made, which is going to be sucking the liquid out, but at the same time, hopefully, adding a little bit of flavour in. Don't need this much, but it is easier to bulk make it and keep some for next time. Now, I use a lot more than probably most do. It's the way I've honed it. There's a lot of people disagree. In fact, on the Kitchen Cabinet Radio 4, they had a description of how to cure and smoke salmon. And the timings and amounts and everything seem to be exactly inverse to what I do. But this is my way. So, and this is not subtle. This is, I would like to say flavoursome. My theory is when people say lightly cured, it means they haven't done it much, because it works out more expensive to heavily cure. So I've got these, I hope you can see all this, into it. Just about, it doesn't matter too much for the touching, because I'm going to put plenty of cure in. And this paper will go straight to the bin in a moment. So now I'm going to start putting the cure on. And I like to actually hide the fish beneath the cure. Some people scatter on a bit and, talk about it for a little bit for half an hour, various things. This is what I've developed over, starting probably 5 years ago, on and off, although when I first started smoking, I wasn't doing fish, I was frightened of it. And I have to caution, this is not a guide, you have to know what you're doing. But also with people who like it. This recipe works for me and it works for the people I give it to. I don't sell it, but my wife goes to a girly party most months, and it has become an expectation of them that there shall be smoked salmon. So that's quite quick. And quite soon you'd start seeing, in fact, difficult to say, but you can just sort of see this almost beginning to start going to liquid here, because this is going to start very quickly drawing the moisture out of the fish, and we'll have a look tomorrow. This stage is 18 hours. It's 18 hours later. Let's see what we got. And you see a lot of fluid has pulled out of the salmon. This is now cured salmon, more heavily cured. And hopefully the aromatics have got into the flesh. So the next job is to wash all that off. This feels a lot stiffer than it was. And it just takes some psychopath. Let's put it in cold water. Yeah, look how it holds its shape. I don't mind the odd little bit of cure left on it. It's all good stuff. Yeah. I think when you're washing something, you also you think, oh, hot water, but no, it's Got the cold water for this. Now I can put the hot water on to help rinse out the cure from the tray. As I mentioned last night, I made far too much of it. Cure, that is, I don't think it's too much. I use far more than anybody who would do this commercially would do. Probably it's too much. Both in, I think it eats into the profits in curing time, curing amount, and smoking time. This is slightly unscientific, but let's weigh them again. 425 grams, 422 grams. So we've gone through the first stage, which is the curing. And now we have to have a second stage in between the curing and the smoking, which I normally do for about 2.5 hours, which is called getting the pellicle. I don't know if there's a proper sort of like verb for it. Pellicle is not so much on this side, but on this side, and also, let's have a little look, again, look at the surface of that. The pellicle is basically, it dries and forms a layer which is slightly, I don't know whether it's sticky, but it's a good medium to receive the smoke particles. And it's called a pellicle, as I say. So I am actually popping 2 holes in there, and I have these hooks which will go through. I think it's so firm that I don't even need 2 of these in this. So let's just put 1 into this one. You see, so they hang. Right, come with me outside. I made this myself, and this beastie is called a meat cabinet. It's a precursor to the fridge and is quite useful. I haven't made for a while, but during the lockdowns, another thing I made before the smoked salmon was quite a lot of charcuterie, salamis, things like that. This being on the north face of the house, never sees sunlight, except sometimes the sunset might catch it, but um, only very occasionally. But certainly in the winter months, you can make charcuterie and safely keep it in here. This is lined with a fly-proof material, and by gum it needs it, because in the summer I've seen flies flying all round here trying to get in when I've got salmon in here, and they don't, thank goodness. Long may it continue. So I'm quite pleased with that, actually, for a little DIY job. So what I'm going to do here is put the salmon for about 2.5 hours, gentle breeze crossing it, lets it dry nicely, gets a nice pellicle. At home, you could perhaps lay it out in the fridge if you've got room, on the tray, or somewhere cool in the house where, but make sure you don't get any flies or anything on it. So let's hang these up. So what I did is, might be difficult to see, but I just put a load of simple hooks from a DIY store in the top. Again, thank you Waitrose for putting out a weekly paper, because I like to put a little bit of newspaper at the bottom because it might be drips, and I can soak that up and chuck it away. In goes 1. In goes the other. Let's put it like that. Just want to make sure they don't touch and the sides or each other, and that's fine. Make sure this is properly shut, because that makes sure that everything is fly proof. See you in 2.5 hours. It's been 2.5 hours, and there is the odd fly, and even a hoverfly who is showing a great deal of interest. Is it a hoverfly or a wasp in trying to get in? So this thing is worth it even this time of year in September. So I think now we've got a pellicle. I'll show you in a second, and we will now put it into the bit you've all been waiting for, which is the smoking. This is rather over-engineered. I call this the Chisum Auto Smoke M2 because the Mark 1 was built during lockdown, and I decided to improve on it using proper wood rather than plywood, and have in the internally just food safe oils coating it, um, uh, and more hooks, and make it bigger. I'll show you what the whole dimensions, the whole thing is based around in a moment. But let's open up, and this is the inside. I have some rods here which we can hang things off. A little grating here, basically they're cooling trays, your baking cooling trays, which you can put cheese on, for example, which I quite often do. So first of all, let's go and hang the salmon. I don't know if you'll be able to get a good view of the salmon here, but it's got more of a sort of dry, slightly tacky surface. All the better for picking up the smoke. So pop that in there, let it hang, man, and just get in there. Right. And I'm going to close that. I must admit, the wood has warped over the. When did I put this together? Well, at least 3 years ago. This is a utility cupboard, and in here I'm going to get some wood dust. Might need more than that. Whoop! Cook's blowtorch. I tend to use this, and wire brush just for cleaning. And in here is the engine room, as it were, in this slot. And this is our device which will actually do the smoking, the smoke generator. So I've cleaned out the smoke generator a bit, give it a little scrape with a little brush, and now we need to put in wood dust. You don't want any old sawdust, it's got to be from untreated wood. I actually, when I'm in North Wales, buy this from Hale and Moan, the Anglesey sea salt people. It's their own oak dust, which they use their own smoker. And funny enough, don't tell them, because normally I like their stuff, but it is premium cost. But actually, their smoke dust is very reasonably priced. And the label's fallen off this, but it says it's for hot smoking. Well, I've news for you. This is called cold smoking, and it's absolutely fine for cold smoking. Now, I've filled up this sort of, you see this sort of bit like a Catherine wheel that, burns very, very slowly, like probably at the speed of a cigar. And now I've got it roughly right. I'm going to run my finger round the spiral. Oh, little kitty's gain, isn't it? So that it is exposed, and that just makes sure that the burning wood does not cross over from one channel to the next. It's not the end. I think it's only happened once. It's not the end of the world if it happens. Now, the older, cheaper one was better for using this. I'm going to try and... Oh, yeah, don't know if you can see it or not, but it's now running. I prefer to try and get it going using this. And although we may initially get a flame, it'll very quickly go out. Now, the older one is better. The other way to do it is, and it is fiddly to get out, let's maybe we'll do both. It is to use a, oh, that's getting good, is to use a tea light. Now, what I tend to do at this point, without trying to blow the dust around too much, main thing is to try and get it established. And so I think it's going to take you in a bit more. So yeah, I don't have a team of minions to do this for me. Yeah, and I think that might take my advice is to give it about 20 minutes, come back and have another look. So it is now just turning towards twilight. And I just think I want to give that a little go. A little bit more heat. Just the more heat it gets going, the better to start with. So this, I find, it can vary on various factors. But this stuff, this should take, sometimes it's 9 hours, sometimes it's more than 12. But time to put it away. Right, it's the next morning. The dust had all burnt away, somewhere between, I don't know, 10 to 12 hours. The salmon will already be more smoked than I think you will typically buy in the supermarkets because time is money for them. But I don't do subtle. I want to do another cycle of smoking. So I've recharged what's called a smoke generator. Now, yesterday I showed you how to use a cook's blow lamp to get it going. You don't need that. This is the more traditional method. Traditional or a standard? Funny enough, my cousin, she stayed in Australia for a while, and I've always had to try and describe these things to other people. But as soon as she saw it, she recognised it, not for smoking, but for like keeping on your patio to burn slowly to keep the bugs away on a summer's evening. So I've got a tea light here, and I'm going to light it. I hope. I'm going to eventually light it. Ooh, and it's gone out. Let's just try and do it a bit more shaded. Okay, that's going. And there is a little recess which you put the tea light just designed to hold it. And that should burn away and slowly get the dust lit from below. So we'll give that a few minutes. It's just been just under 10 minutes, and you can start seeing some discolorization on the top. I think that this is now heated through nicely. So it takes longer, but you can get on with other jobs to do it. I'm just teasing out the candle, put it out, give that a blow, and now I'm going to put this into the smoker. And to finish off, a final reckoning. Let's see if the fish has lost any more weight between the end of the curing part and the end of the smoking part. And yes, so we'll work out which is which, but that is 372 grams. That is over a 20% loss in all. And this bad boy is, well, let's just zeroize that again. I decided not to do that. 404 grams. So we'll work that out in percentage terms, and I put up the chart of that now. It's interesting that there's nearly a 5% difference in the weight loss between the two sides. In both cases, though, the weight loss makes it safe. And here's the finished result. I wish I could demonstrate the smell and the taste of it. I hope you enjoyed this. This is how I do it. It is not a specific guide. If you want to be absolutely safe, talk to the professional. But just to go over it again, I dry the fish for 2 or 3 hours, cure for 18 hours, 2.5 to 3 hours somewhere where it can form a pellicle, and smoke for 24 hours. If you want to know more about what I get up to, particularly in the kitchen and on the allotment, please consider subscribing.